Hey folks, Luma02. Going to be doing a Canadian Highlander deck tech today. We're going to have a couple of games. Yeah, and that's what we're going to be up to. So the deck you have in front of you is Esper Oracle Combo. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the display panel here, and we'll talk through this deck. So I have it broken down in a fairly typical way that I would for most combo control decks, as far as piling goes. Before we start, I want to do a quick overview, and this will be linked down at the bottom. I've recently, due to current world situation, been at the house more. Anyways, at this point in time, I've been putting a lot of effort into trying to get a lot of different deck archetypes put up onto Tapdown. I'm gonna have a link in the above the comments section, or maybe in the comments section, that kind of links all the decks that I've been working on. You have a ton of decks in here to include the deck that we're going to be talking about today, Esper Oracle Combo. That I've basically put together in the last week. Tried to update as well as possible. It's probably not a bad resource if you're looking for a specific deck. I think all of these are fairly distinct. There are some that have some similarities and are variations on similar builds, but there's about 100 or so different archetypes that I've worked on putting together and putting in here for folks to play. I mean, from you see Pox, Aristocrats, Hate Bears, Landstorm, Time Vault decks, I think a fairly wide range. Even a couple different High Tide decks, Is It, and then UB. So yeah. Anyways, that's a resource that's going to be. I'm trying to collectivize for folks to kind of flatten the knowledge base of the format, because Magic's a complex game, and when you're playing with all of it, i.e., vintage, banlist, legal format, it can be kind of daunting to get into, and there's a lot of different options that are out there. And really, if there's anything, if you enjoy this game, if you're watching this, which means you probably enjoy Magic and/or Highlander, there's probably a deck in there for you if you haven't already started playing. And if you have, sharpshoot my decks, because I would like to make them better. I think I'm pretty good at the format. I think I'm a pretty decent builder, but I'm certainly not, I wouldn't consider myself a specialist. And if I am a specialist in the format in anything, it's probably in Blue X decks. Blue X combo, some combo decks I'm pretty solid. I mean, Storm decks, I feel pretty comfortable saying I can pilot well and build decently well. Sometimes I build them radically just to test new things out. But anyway, I'm not an expert in Hoof and Academy. I put them together because I wanted to have them out there for folks, and I think they're decent builds, but I think they could also be improved upon. But anyways, that's that. I'm going to get off that, and we'll get on to Esper Oracle. And really the reason why we're talking about Esper Oracle, and really, not even Esper Oracle, let's talk Thassa's Oracle to start off with. This is the namesake card of the deck. So Thassa's Oracle, 2 blue, 1/3. Not all that impressive, but when it comes into play, you get to look at top X cards of your deck, where X is your devotion to blue. And if your devotion to blue exceeds the number of cards in your library, then you win the game. You also get to put, if not, then you get to put, of the top X cards, one of them on top, and the rest go to the bottom of your library. So this card, pretty messed up. Combos pretty well with a couple cards. You could put it in Doomsday decks, which I've already kind of showcased a Doomsday deck that ran this, but that wasn't really I would say a highly competitive Doomsday deck. I think there's better builds of Doomsday that are more Storm and Thassa's Oracle oriented. But realistically, how you're comboing with this is you have Tainted Pact right here, and then Demonic Consultation, which are a 3 mana and a 4 mana combo. All of which the cards are unpointed for. So the reason that's of interest is because Time Vault is, I think, could be agreed upon by most people as being a top archetype, a top deck. It won the last year end against Death and Taxes, and it made it through some pretty stiff competition, some good Storm decks, some red decks that are very fast and are also pretty much always in the top 5 decks of the format. That's a 4 mana combo, right? It's Time Vault plus Key, plus 1 mana to untap Time Vault with Key. That's 4 mana. What you have here is, possibly even an instant speed combo with Thassa's Oracle if you want to run Flash, or if you want to, which is probably not the best way to go because Flash is very point intensive as far as cards go. But you could even run Shallow Grave. You could entomb Thassa's Oracle, Shallow Grave it back, which you could find off of Mystical Teachings and the Demonic Consultation, all on your opponent's end step if you wanted to do that. It's not how this deck's set up, but I guess my point is that it's a very powerful combination that is not pointed, which means that you can get away with a lot of added value in your decks, in your Blue X combo control decks, or your Thassa's Oracle combo decks, because you're able to use a bunch of other points, which, generally speaking, when you have a combo that powerful that you're able to pair with other points in the format, it's very good. It's very good from a game win percent standpoint, and it's probably something that eventually the council is going to look at and maybe like point demonic or tainted pact, demonic consultation. I don't know. It's a weird card to point. Because it doesn't see play in a ton of decks that aren't trying to do this. Although I think that's honestly possibly a mistake in some decks. Like I've started playing this in like the more combo-oriented aristocrats decks that like have like 3-card combos that go infinite. If you have 2 of the pieces, you just demonic consult for the other piece and win the game. If you miss, I mean you lose, but so you have a pretty good chance of finding the piece you need to win on the spot, etc. But Tainted Pact, obviously it's generally a mid-range cruiser. Like you just see this thing in mid-range decks and in some control decks that are multicolor. But once you have Thassa's Oracle, it becomes kind of a powerhouse. It's just very unfair. I don't say unfair, but it's a very resilient combo, right? Because the creature's body doesn't matter. If it gets Path to Exiles and Swords of Plowshare, who cares? Really, it needs to get stifled. Like the trigger, like either needs to get countered, the follow-up spell needs to get countered, the Tainted Pact, the Demonic Consultation, or the triggered ability off of Thassa's Oracle needs to get stifled, which is probably the best way to deal with it. Glue cards like Nimble Obstructionist, Literal Stifle, Disallow. And you also have cards like Unexpectedly Absent, which can, if their devotion to blue is just the Thassa's Oracle, which is 2, you can put the Thassa's Oracle back on top and force them to redraw and then win on the following turn, which I've had come up when I've been playing against this style of deck with Death and Taxes. But that all said, those are like ways you can interact with it, but it's not a very interactive combo. It's very resilient, which in general means if it's unpointed and resilient, it's very good. Thus, the reason I'm talking about this deck. Not that I think this deck's particularly fun to play. It is pretty fun to play, in my opinion, but it's not really all that different from playing most Blue X combo control decks. But the fact that the combo is A, resilient, and B, unpointed, means that it is able to just use other pointed cards to help get the combo. That are generally pretty free. Like Spellseeker is just a good card to run. Demonic Tutor is just fine to run. Gifts Ungiven, great. Talisman, more of a combo card. But my point is, it's just it basically, I think, upgrades like these style of control decks, like these older school looking style of control decks. There's a ton of counter magic, a ton of interaction, hand attack. I think it elevates it quite high because it allows you to have a very sound control game plan with a win-out-of-nowhere combo that really helps shore up your aggressive matchups that are going to be more linear and less interactive with what you're doing. That allows you to really value mulligan the deck well and have like a turn 3 kill, which comes up from time to time. And then most of the time, you're just playing control, and then you just oops into it and win. So I think this deck, as you start looking at like the hierarchy of decks competitively, I don't think this deck specifically, but builds like it, builds that use this combination of cards, of Thassa's Oracle, Demonic Consultation, and Tainted Pact, are probably in the top tier of Canadian Highlander decks right now. Like I said, I don't know if this is the exact build. I've built a bunch of different varieties. I really like Thassa's Oracle in Mana Dork decks. I think having a bunch of additional jeweled amulets in your deck to really have access to powering the combo out may be better than this. But this is a very fun build of it, and it's one I opted to cover because I have some gameplay of it, and yeah. So, anyways, Thassa's Oracle, Tainted Pact, Demonic Consultation. Now let's get to the rest of the deck. You have the Oracle over here, which is kind of like your brick. It's just the piece you need to combo in the deck. You have your tutors. You have Vidalcan Aether Mage, which is a card that doesn't see play all that often, but is very powerful, specifically in this deck, because it finds your combo piece, Thassa's Oracle. It also finds Spellseeker to find, Tainted Pact or Demonic Consultation if you already have access to the Oracle, or if you just want Seeker for, Demonic Tutor. And it also finds a bunch of other wizards. It finds Snapcaster Mage right here. It finds Hand Attack in the form of Vendilion Click, which is also a wizard randomly. And unfortunately, it doesn't find Brazen Borrower. Sorry, buddy. But I believe I do have one more bird wizard in here. Yeah, Nimble Obstructionist. This is a bird wizard. You could also opt to play Aven Mindcensor, which is also a bird wizard in this deck if you were playing the mirror. That's one of the things I want to talk is like I think as this deck becomes more recognized in the format and as it gets played more, there are some things you can do that if you're planning on playing yourself can help support you in the mirror, which includes Aven Mindcensor, I believe. I think that card. I've talked to a couple folks. Jeremy White, I was talking to him about this style of deck. He says he's not a big fan of Aven Mindcensor. I think the card's great. I think you could run it in this deck and be very happy with it. Especially in a Mystical Teachings deck. It's quite good. You could also look at Dark Confidant, which seems crazy to say because this deck is kind of like slow and grindy and has all these control cards. But if you're going to be playing a lot of mirrors, or you expect a lot more of this style of deck, it's just fine to take like 6 to 8 damage off your own Dark Confidant, because if you're getting 3 to 4 more cards over your opponent in these sort of mirror matches, you're either going to win the game because you find the pieces you need to win the game, or you're just going to have so much control over the game that you'll probably win due to that fact. Anyways, those are some interesting thoughts, like cards you could play if you were planning on playing more against this style of deck or in a more controlling meta. And Aven Mindcensor are just good against combo too. Like if you're playing a Storm combo a bunch, put an Aven Mindcensor in your deck. Not that this deck's per se horrible against Storm. Like you have hand attack, you have a bunch of counter magic. You can generally just disrupt any of a fast combo. Like you can disrupt them and just kill them pretty easily. Wouldn't be great, but I mean it's a lot better now that you have access to a turn 3 kill, right? So anyways, tutors. So Vidalcan Aether Mage kind of talked that one. 3 mana wizard cycling. To my knowledge, there is no other wizard cycler in the game of Magic, but this card's very sweet. It's also just randomly a 1/2 flash, so I have seen people cast it and block. Shred Memory, this is just a cycler. It basically finds Tainted Pact, or it finds Thassa's Oracle, or sometimes it finds Demonic Tutor if you're about to die. Muddle, same thing. It's also just a counterspell. Tithe finds lands, pretty good. You're a mana-hungry deck. DC, yep, just a combo piece. Also just a tutor. I've cast this numerous times just to find something to not die, like a Toxic Deluge or a Damnation, or you name it. Quite a few cards. Tainted Pact, just a good card again. Also combo piece. Mystical Teachings, this card is great. I love being able to play it. It also finds you all of your combo pieces. So if you need to get the Oracle, you basically just find Muddle the Mixture and transmute Muddle the Mixture into Oracle. That is one way to do it, or you can find gifts and find Oracle plus Unearth plus Snapcaster plus Savine's Reclamation to do it. Off of the gifts, but Mystical Teachings just really holds this deck together. Can kind of just do a little bit of everything you may need. If you need to remove something like really bad that's stopping you, like I don't know, a Hushwing Griff or a Hushbringer, you can get Unexpectedly Absent or a Fatal Push, as the case may be. You name it. This just does a lot in the deck. Wishclaw Talisman. This is really the 10th point. This is the card that I'm least sure you have to play, and it could be something else. But it's just a tutor, and it's a 1-point tutor. And yeah, we are a combo deck at the end of the day. I mean, you're using this card to find the combo and just win. You're not using it for value like you can Demonic Tutor. And yeah, it's still very good. The reason I think I'm kind of sold on it over something like Imperial Seal is, well, one, it puts it in your hand, even though this goes back over to your opponent. But we have Savine's Reclamation, so we can actually gifts pile for this card and then return it with gifts. You'll note I'm not on Fabricate. I'm not that deep, but you could be. Seeker, yes, just finds everything you may need. If you need, way to win like this, you can. If you need to find this piece right here, you just get this Demonic Tutor right here. Then you have Big Boy Demonic Tutor, 4-pointer, the most heavily pointed card in the deck. It's actually a deck of a lot of 1-pointers. It's got a 4-pointer, a 2-pointer, then a bunch of 1-pointers. Demonic Tutor is my 4-pointer. This card, again, it finds everything. We're a combo deck and we're a control deck, so being able to find anything is pretty good. Gifts. Yeah, so this is Savine's Reclamation, in my opinion, is probably one of the it's a card that just kind of creeped up on the format, in my opinion. I was really big on it when it came out. I was like, I don't know yet how, all of the ways that you can break Savine's Reclamation, but it is the only card, I mean, outside of Obsidat's Aid, it's the only card that has this effect, right? The ability just to return any permanent, like Fetch Land, Time Vault, Thassa's Oracle, Crucible of Worlds, Courser of Crufix, Fast Bond. There's so many ways you can just break this card. Wishclaw Talisman plus Underworld Breach, just a ton, right? It just does so much. And there's no other card that does it at rate. There's only one. It's Obstats 8. It only brings back one thing. This thing can bring back up to 3 things. If you draw it, you can just bring back one thing and then flash it back and bring back 2 things. So it's basically a 3-for-1. It's not the most mana efficient, but it's assured. Like, it's gonna force a counter, it's gonna flash back and force another counter, and it's just gonna be a card advantage. Basically, it's either gonna be card advantage as 2-for-1 on the stack, or it's going to be a 3-for-1, getting to cast it a bunch of times. And in a format like this, you can just Gifts or Intuition it into the bin and automatically get your 2-for-1 off of it and be pretty happy. Yeah. So Gifts is basically another combo pile. You just pile this thing with one of these things, and then a Snapcaster, Unearth, Savine's Reclamation. A couple ways to do it. This is the recursion pile. I already talked Savine's Rec. Here's Unearth, Snapcaster, just a good control card. Also a wizard that you can find off of Vedalken Aethermage. Mystic Sanctuary. This is probably almost, I wouldn't say ubiquitous with blue decks, because I've played some 4-color, like mid-range blue decks that don't play this card because the mana just can't support it. But this is, I don't know if it's the most powerful card. It's top 10 in 2019. This card is just ridiculous. It's just a very absurd Magic card. And what it does. Like, Thassa's Oracle is an absurd card too, but you have to do other stuff to make it good. Like, if you're playing blue, you should be playing Mystic Sanctuary. Like, almost, not universal. Like I said, if you have like 4-color, like, Hate Bears or something, like, you're not going to run this card. But, like, if you're playing a deck that runs instants and sorceries, a significant number of them, and basic islands, just islands in general, you're going to play this card. It's absurd. Alright, so counter magic. I'm not going to go over the counter magic ad nauseum. There is a ton of it. I put Nimble Obstructionist in here because it kind of is a stifle. I do think one of the things, just format-wide, like if you're playing a blue deck, stifles are a lot more interesting because of this deck specifically, and I think the possibility at a competitive level of this deck becoming more ubiquitous as a go-to combo control deck, I think this deck is better than Time Vault, because it basically gets to free roll a Time Vault-like combo. It's actually a combo that's probably better than Time Vault, and it requires no pointed cards to do that, so it has more flexibility in how it accrues value from from using its points. Just my take. But yeah, tons of counter magic, tons of it. You get your pitch counters, and then just a ton of counter magic. This is all card draw right here. You have Dig Through Time, which is my last point. I guess not my last point. I talked about my last point being Wish Claw, because it kind of is. It's kind of like the weakest of the points, I think, in the deck. I mean, it's still a very good card, but it's not, like, epic like it is in, like, Breach Storm or something like that. Dig Through Time, very, very good. Search for Escanto, just a good control card, good card filtration to get you to a combo, good at finding the combo if you need to. Latinam's Legacy, card filtration. This card is very good, especially in like a slower combo. Not slower, but like a deck that can kind of go at its own pace, right? Like, you have some combo cards in the deck that like you don't always want, and sometimes you'll just Latinam's Legacy to get rid of them, so you can play the control game. And sometimes you just want to go fast, and you'll get rid of your counter spell and find what you need to find out of the deck to combo. Jace, pretty good in this deck. Like, normally you don't. Jace is kind of like hit or miss with Esper decks specifically because he's not that good with counter magic. But when you start having like cards like Tainted Pact, Demonic Consultation in your deck, Unearth in your deck, like it becomes a lot better. Because you're able to basically use him as a redundant component to combination kill. And why that's relevant is if you're playing a lot of blue mirrors, like Jace is quite strong in blue mirrors because you can basically use him as a regrowth a couple times on your spells, which is going to generally lead to card advantage situations for you. Just dies to everything though. But also again, you can find it with the Vedalken Aethermage if you really want to. It's probably not one of the things I find that often. Just kind of some of the more common cantrips. I am playing Portent in this deck, which may seem a little odd. Portent's kind of a weaker cantrip. I'm also not playing Gitaxian Probe in this deck. I am sorry. I was like, am I not playing it? I can see myself not playing it in this deck because it can get beat down very heavily by red. It's always kind of been one of the issues with these style of decks is that like they can kind of fold to some aggro decks. But you don't have to play Gitaxian Probe. You don't have to play Portent. I like having these style of effects because I generally tend to think that, especially decks like this that have a lot of flexibility in how you want to choose to play them, like i.e., do I want to play as a combo deck or do I want to play as a control deck in this matchup? these kind of cards give you that decision throughout the game, because at some point you do need to transition to actually winning the game. It is a lot more difficult to win with this deck outside of the combo, but it's not impossible either. I mean, you have the two creature lands to beat down with. You have Jace the Mind Sculptor, to win with, but and you have a couple flash creatures that are in here really for disruption. But realistically, you're winning with the combo most of the time in this deck. And these style of cards, the cantrips, the portents of the world and whatnot, I think really allow you to kind of control variance in a way that allows you to choose when you want to make that transition to winning the game. Castle Vantress, these two cycling lands, just very good lands, allow you to get after what it is you need to find in your deck if you already have the mana that you require, and they're fine turn 1 plays as well. Mostly playing Fetid Pools. We're playing Irrigated Farmland. This sees a lot of play in the white decks because most of these big control decks that are playing white play Tithe to get after their mana, and this card is tutorable off of Tithe, which allows you to basically get a 2-for-1 that turns one of the lands that you found as a 2-for-1 into an actual card, hopefully. Fetid Pool is a little weaker, but still a strong card. I like the ability on these to cycle, and you also need to take into consideration your basic land count in this style of deck, because you're running Tainted Pact, and you want Tainted Pact to be able to mill your whole deck. Alright, board control. So, Damnation. I've seen some folks play this deck with Thought Lash in it, which is really cool. Thought Lash is an old enchantment. 2 blue. Got some sick art. It's got someone's mind exploding into Seymour from Little Shop of Horrors. But what it actually does is you can exile the top card of your library and prevent the next damage that would be dealt to you. You can basically just exile cards ad nauseum, and however many cards you have, you can prevent that much damage. If damage is not happening, it's fine. You just exile your whole deck. But it is a way to stay alive. I don't really like that card with this combo. It's okay. If you already have the Oracle and you have that, it's fine. You could also play like Jace, Revealer of Mysteries, or whatever the hell that card's called, the 3 blue and 1/1 that's used in Doomsday. But those cards don't really do all that much on their own to impact the board. And so I kind of wanted to just play the best ways of winning with DC and Tainted Pact, which I just see as being Oracle. And have a more solid game plan to control the board, control the stack with cards that are more impactful and more powerful singularly than those. But those are options. So I was seeing that, looking at Damnation and thinking about those style of cards, because Damnation is a card that is used to control the board. And I think it's necessary in this style of deck because you can get just rushed. If you get rushed pretty hard in this deck, you can lose. So Damnation is kind of a tool to help do that. Same with Toxic Deluge. Unexpectedly Absent, we talk. Sometimes you can run into problematic permanence, and having a way to find this card with Mystical Teachings is good. I definitely like it. Teferi, just basically helps you win Blue Mirrors. Card is great. Brazen Borrower, this card is awesome. This card is absurdly expensive on MTGO. It may actually be the most expensive card on MTGO. I don't know that for a fact, but it's close. And for good reason. Well, maybe not good reason. It shouldn't be as much as it is, but it's understandable that it is expensive as it is, given a lot of criteria that don't really pertain to the scope of this video. But due to its qualities as a Magic card, this is a 2-mana bounce anything except for a land. So it's Into the Royal / Blink of an Eye. You don't have to pay 4/4 to draw a card, because you already draw an extra card, and it's a 3-mana 3/1 flyer. They can only block flyers, but threatens planeswalkers really well, etc., etc. So, card's very good. You don't have to wait until you get to 4 mana like you do on not Unexpectedly Absent, Blink of an Eye, and Into the Royal, which is pretty good. So you get to pay 2, and then on the third turn you can play it out. It just does a lot. There's a lot of permanents that can be problematic against this deck. Stuff that stops triggered abilities from happening, be it Torpor Orbs, be it Tocatli Honor Guards, Hushbringers, Hushwing Gryphs, you name it. There's a few that are out there, and Brazen Borrower being able to bounce it and then allow you to go into your combo is pretty good. Fatal Push, just board control. Narset, I like Narset in this deck because you are looking for specific pieces and parts. She tends to tie up an opponent's attack step that allows you not to get beat to death by the aggro rush decks. And in Blue Mirror, she's just very, very good. Jace, yep, it's Jace. And then, you have over here your hand disruptions. You have Vendilion Click, Collective Brutality, not running him in this deck, or Gerard's Verdict. I think they're a little too iffy on the mana. I'm running Cling to Dust. Cling to Dust is really good. If you guys haven't played with this card, try it out. In your control decks. One of the issues that the blue-white style decks, like blue-white-black style decks, have had historically, in my opinion, is the lack of a good way to attack graveyards that is not just really dead in a lot of matchups. And that's Cling to Dust. That's where this card comes in. White has great ways to attack graveyards, but they're very singular, very narrow, very hateful, and not really just great all-around cards that can have relevance in a lot of matchups. Cling to Dust does. So Cling to Dust is a means of gaining you life against red deck wins. It's a means of picking apart essential components in someone's graveyard, be it Life Malone, be it Strip Mine with Crucible Lock. It's just a way of it's a way of providing long-term value. And Control Mirrors, this card's great. I'm going to showcase a game where I think I reused this 3 or 4 times, which it's just it's Whispers them used at that point. And I'm exiling my own cards out of my own graveyard, but I'm drawing 3 to 4 more cards than my other blue playing opponent. I'm probably going to win, and I'm spoiler alert, I did win. So Cling to Dust, I think, just does enough in enough matchups. This is a very good card to play. You can also cast it in response to things that target stuff in graveyards. You make a Time Vault player really sad when they cast their Gifts Ungiven and they target Time Vault with their Nauseous Revival, or whatever, or Snapcaster Mage, you name it. Very, very good. Crackus Wasteland, yep, the 2 creature lands, then just the mana base over here. Mana is pretty easy, pretty good in this deck. So guys, that is the deck. It is an Esper Oracle combo control deck, and it's, I think the Oracle combo, the Fish combo, is probably one that will be relooked in the next pointing session. I don't think Oracle itself will likely get pointed. It's not really that good of a card. It's just, how do I put it? Oracle is the type of card that in itself is not the problem. It is very good at what it does. It's very specifically good at what it does. But it unlocks the power of other cards that, because it did not exist, didn't really have the power level that they can. I.e. Tainted Pact and Demonic Consultation. Demonic Consultation is a great Magic card, but it's a lot tougher to rationalize in singleton formats, for starters, and then control decks, because you may run out of your win cons, but when you're able to play a card that just says, hey, if you just mill your deck, you win, it's great. Same thing with Tainted Pact. So anyways, guys, I'm going to go ahead and pause it there, and we will jump into some gameplay with this deck. Alrighty, folks, we're back. Playing against Brahms here. The first game we'll be showcasing. This hand's fine. It's obviously shy on white mana, but it's got a ton of interaction and counter magic. It also has the Muddle, so I can find a combo eventually, or find a piece to the combo. Probably should have let on the fetch here to play around Wasteland. I go ahead and leave up the Spell Snare in case they play a crypt, not a crypt, Mana Crypt or something like that afterwards. There. Go ahead and take a look. I believe I keep the top there. They have to play on a Blood Moon. This is a must counter. I go ahead and spell Pierce it here. Go ahead and take a look. Let's go over their hand real quick. I draw into Unearth, which is not really doing me any favors here. They have an Ugin, which is straight uncastable, and they have a Sky Shroud Claim and then a bunch of lands. Their deck is like a channel, red-green channel deck. I think it's like a variety of big green, like real big green. So they're relying on these big mana artifacts like Grim Monolith, Mana Crypt, Soul Ring to cast very big spells ahead of curve. I go ahead and cycle here. I'm not going to counter this card. I'll counter their big cards like Ugin. I just want to kind of get into my combo if I can. And is the replay broken? Well, guys, it looks like it might be. So I'm going to go on a quick pause. I'll be back momentarily to see if I can get this to work. Alright, guys, we're back, and hopefully it maintains working. So we get through their turn there. Make our land drop. Now we're going to cast Mystical Teachings and probably find Demonic Consultation and then try to transmute and win. It'd be my guess. I think DC is probably the find. Yeah, DC is the find here. We're 1 mana shy of being able to do it this turn, but I am able to just transmute and then leave up Counterspell on their turn. They're not a discard deck, so I'm not too worried about the Oracle going away. The worst I could do is like try to cast like a Wheel of Fortune or something. But if they just cast their Ugin, which they're on par for course to cast at this turn on turn 6, they try to attempt to cast it. I believe I counter it, and then they know that I have the DC, and they know that I found the fastest Oracle, and they just go ahead and concede it there. So they're getting me game 1 here. Not a particularly hard matchup for like the Oracle deck. If they get like down like if they get an early channel, like a turn 2 channel or turn 1 channel, like you can just lose to an Emrakul. They're a very powerful deck, but if the game goes beyond turn 3 or 4, like I think you're gonna generally be a-okay. But that would be true of like just an Esper deck in general versus like the big green style deck. But quick pause. We'll be back momentarily for game 2 against like this big green splash red, big green moon. I'll call it. I don't know. Alrighty, guys, we're back. And, yeah, I mean, this hand just has cards that are fine in it. They cast a Wild Growth out. It's fine. Go ahead and take a look at their hand. Their hand has a 6-drop, a 7-drop, and a 5-drop in it, and a Raging Ravine in 1 land. But they had them mulligan pretty heavily. It doesn't bode well for them. Luckily for them, they did put this Wild Growth on a basic forest. If they had not, I believe, Enchantland. If they had not, I could have wastelanded them, probably out of the game. But I just go ahead and lead off with the Godless Shrine, or the Godless Shrine here. I actually just clinged to dust my own Gitaxian Probe. They don't have anything I want to hand attack out with the Inquisition of Kozilek at this point in time, and I just want to get to further in my deck. Is my thinking. So they have to pass it back again. I'm probably just going to wasteland them this turn. Yeah, just wasteland them, take them a little further off mana, put them back to 3 off of 4. And then on the following turn, we'll probably ponder. The reason I want to do that is I'm building up my delve count for the dig through time, try to get after my own combination of cards. Well, that's a pretty good draw right there. Thoughtseize is not a horrible one to have here. I just go ahead and get the Coercive Portal out. The rest of their cards cost approximately 1 million mana, and/or Kozilek's Return that doesn't really do anything against my deck. Go ahead and Inquisition here. I just take the Kozilek's Return. The big reason I do it, well, I find the Oracle there, which is kind of nice. I put the land in my hand just in case they are randomly running some sort of hand attack. They cast out the Nissa here. I just go ahead and remand the Nissa. And then next turn I'm going to take a look and see if I can't possibly find some way to combo with my Oracle with this Dig Through Time. So I do go ahead and dig here. I could try to do it on my turn to be really proactive, but like there are some considerations to like maybe I could possibly lose on the next turn. It's not very likely, but I do go ahead and mana drain this. I want to say, all right, this game's going to break as well because I don't think maybe I did Wizard Cycle here. Wizard Cycle here to find what? So the game is going to break here, but I do know what I did now. I Wizard Cycled the Vidalcan Aether Mage to find Spellseeker. What Spellseeker allows me to do is play Seeker on the next turn, find the Demonic Consultation, play my land, play the Thassa's Oracle, DC, and then win the game. That's how this played out. But unfortunately, the replay is broken. But I'm not going to go back through this one because it's pretty prosaic. They cast this out. I don't need to mana drain it, so I just cycle the Vidalcan Aether Mage, find the Seeker, play the Seeker, find the DC, play out my land, play out Thassa's Oracle, trigger on stack, DC, mill my whole deck, win with Thassa's Oracle trigger. So that is this game against Big Red or Big Green Moon Stompy. I don't even call it Stompy. It's Big Green Moon. Just massive creatures, and as you can see, like they're not they're a high rolly deck. They are a very high rolly deck, but they have their fast mana. Like they're going to be pretty good because they just have a bomb train. And when they don't, against like this style of deck, this just a control deck in general, like they can definitely struggle. Anyways, guys, I'm going to go on a quick pause. We'll be back momentarily for the next game that we'll be showcasing with this deck. Alrighty, guys, we're back playing against Card Knock Life here. This hand's fine. I see a Celestial Colonnade, and I'm thinking like I'm probably in some variety of mirror, maybe not Oracle, but probably Control. They cast Gerard's Verdict. I actually discard the Talisman here. I feel like in this matchup, like Talisman may be a liability. Like too much can go wrong with it. I just want to play the control game. I get hand attacked here. They take the Dig Through Time. which I don't think is a bad take. Like I can see folks taking the DC because I obviously I have the combo in hand. Vidalcan Aethermage does find the other piece to the DC, the Thassa's Oracle, which, I mean, I could have cycled there to find, but I actually kind of want to save Vidalcan Aethermage and, like, see what they do. I feel like at this point, like, they've hand attacked me twice. They know exactly what I've got. Like, they haven't been doing anything proactive, so they probably have a bunch of reactive stuff. And, yeah, them not making land drops kind of benefits me because I can kind of just sit here and use this Cling to Dust as a Whispers of the Muse, which is kind of the plan. And which is actually, like, this is the game where you're going to see, like, in my opinion, in like the mirror matches, how powerful Cling to Dust is, because it's going to get me a lot of free cards. So I do find the Oracle here to say, hey, I've got this Oracle. You burned through 2 discard spells at this point, so it's probably pretty safe in my hand zone, but it's probably a little less safe on the stack. But at this point, I'm building up mana advantage. I'm going to Cling to Dust again here, and I'm building up card advantage to Cling to Dust. So find a Muddle the Mixture. At this point, I'm going to go for it because I have 2 counter spells against their 4 mana with my 7 mana here. And I have the Oracle combo. So I put the Oracle down with it on the stack, DC. The reason you do it in this order is because if you do the DC first and they counter the DC, then the Thassa's Oracle's... I guess the Thassa's Oracle is worthless at that point anyways. I guess there's an argument to do it either way. Well, I guess... Actually, no, there's not, because they can just... If they counter the Thassa's Oracle after you've DC'd, then your whole deck's milled and you probably lose. Anyway, I do get back the Mystic Sanctuary that I played earlier that was tapped with my Daze, which is kind of like part of the plan. I do get the DC, put it back on top. My thinking is here I actually want to use DC to find Mystical Teachings. I do mill a bunch of my deck. I'm hoping to not mill certain parts of my deck, but yeah. It's a riskier line, but I kind of want to try it out. I think Mystical Teachings is going to actually allow me to just play a long-term control game against them. And I'm still not out of it as far as the combo goes. As long as I have Thassa's Oracle around, I can bounce it back to hand with, like, a lot of effects in my deck. Brazen Borrower, Jace the Mind Sculptor. Jace is exiled at this point, just an FYI. Then use Mystical Teachings to find Snapcaster to recast the DC. Yeah. Kind of the plan. But the plan right now is just honestly just control them out of the game. Just control them out of the game. I'm Cling to Dust multiple times at this point. They cast a Baneslayer Angel, which is a fine mid-range threat, but like it's not really something that my deck cares about at all. Like I'm just like, all right, I'm going to Mystical Teachings. I'll find the Swords to Plowshares because like this thing will kill me, but it's very slow to kill me. And I'll start beating down with my 1/3. They put a Brazen Borrower in the bin. We both have Search for Azkantas. The difference is mine's flipped. They try to Fracture Identity here. I just counter it with Absorb to, save my Oracle. I mean, the Oracle is not that relevant, but if I can have it around, I'd rather have it around. I go ahead and Cling to Dust again, like 4th time here. I think I Cling to Dust like 5 or 6 times this game. Just getting more and more cards. They go ahead and Thoughts or Inquisition here. Allow it to happen. They get the Miscalc. Cast out their 2/3. 2/3's fine, though. It doesn't really do... It's just slow. I get to go ahead and search for Azkanta here, which is nice. Unfortunately, what's not nice is I find nothing with it. Find a Shred Memory. Shred Memory is actually a card that I'm going to hardcast here just to exile cards out of their bin because they have a Search for Azkanta in play, and it's going to force... And I have a Cling to Dust. So it puts a card in my bin to continue to cast Cling to Dust, and it also ensures that it's going to be very difficult for them to search for Azkanta. I find a Serum Visions here. I do go ahead and Force of Will this Vindicate. They do know that I have Spell Pierce in hand because of the Inquisition. Because I actually want to keep my search around. I find a Brainstorm, which is fine. I go ahead and put the Creature Land down. I have Mystical Teachings to shuffle with, which is my plan here, is just go ahead and Mystical Teachings to shuffle the other lands off the top of my deck. And also at this point, like, get a good idea of what's left in my deck. So they do this, and I'm like, I'm going to get value off my Search for Azkanta one last time. I go ahead and get this Unexpectedly Absent, which I could coincidentally put the Oracle back in my deck if I wanted to, but they have the Council's Judgment to exile my Thassa's Oracle. So now I have to win with Beatdown, is the plan. I do go ahead and just pay all but 1 to bury their Search for Azkanta, because I don't want them to have a card engine on board. If I don't have my card engine, I don't want them to have their card engine, is kind of my thinking. They try to cast a Spell Seeker. This is a big no-go. I just go ahead and cast Mystical Teachings to find Mana Drain with Spell Snare and or Spell Pierce backup. I guess not a backup, actually. If they counter it, they counter it. Just go ahead and get it. And now my guess would be I start attacking. So with the extra mana, I cycle off this Irrigated Farmland. Go ahead and cling to dust for like my 7th or 8th time. Get a card deeper in the deck. I still don't attack with the I think it's possibly correct to have attacked with... I guess it's not. I have the Castle Vantris, so I want to actually get scry value right now. I do go ahead and scry one at the top, which is this Infiltrator. I believe go ahead and find Snapcaster Mage here. It is a long consideration. I'm just like basically looking at it. It may be Demonic Tutor too. Well, if the gameplay works, let's see. Well, guys, we may be going on another quick pause to see if I can get this one to work. There's a lot of tutoring in these games because of how this deck's set up, and it looks like this replay... Oh, nope. I did not get Latinam's Legacy, so this replay is broken. We'll be right back and see if I can get it to work. Alright guys, we're back. We found Snapcaster with that. It wasn't Demonic Tutor. Snapcaster was the find. My plan now is to have... I'm trying to aggro them out with the Creeping Tar Pit. They attempt to cast a Hymn to Turek on their following turn. I go ahead and Spell Snare it. Go ahead and leave a Latinam's Legacy on top, bottom the land card. Not that it matters that much. The deck's going to get shuffled. Put this land back. And say go. I'm looking to try to get value off my Castle Vantris here. They are tapping out of mana to use their Vantris, so like I have vast mana advantage. So I'm trying to leverage that as much as possible, but I believe on the following turn I finally opt to start attacking them. Bottom the land, top the counterspell. They're at only 6 mana, so like it is viable here to fight them on mana with Mana Leak as a second counterspell. They go ahead and Impulse here, which is just fine. Not a problem for me. They do make their land drop finally this turn. We'll go ahead and Castle Vantris again. I'm clinging to dust here. I'm actually trying to get card advantage, not card filtration. Cling to dust twice here. Just start grinding cards. Like I think it makes sense to start grinding cards at this point. My hand's pretty absurd at this point to their 3 cards. They try to cast a Hero's Downfall. I'm just going to negate it. I'm just going to grind them out with this this Creeping Tar Pit and this Cling to Dust. Cling to Dust may activate more than 7 times this game. It may be like an 8 time Cling to Dust. They opt to do the same thing because they see what I'm doing. They're like, all right, my opponent's trying to kill me. I'm going to kill them with my bigger clock, which is a 4/4 as opposed to their 3/3. Unfortunately, I have the answer in the form of Path to Exile there. Have numerous counter spells at this point, and vast mana advantage. My clock is pretty bad. It's a 3-power attacker, but at some point it'll go to 5 power. Go ahead and counter squall this. It's 2 more chip damage in off a counter spell, which is not bad. Yeah, I didn't activate there. I was kind of worried about like a gifts or something along those lines. I don't know why. I probably could have, but they haven't been doing much. I feel like they're playing off the top of their deck right now. So I don't know what the last couple cards are, and I feel like maybe they're trying to sack something and get us. They have a Cling to Dust. Cling to Dust is a card that I do not care to have occur. So I go ahead and counter squall it here, and then my plan is to Cling to Dust their Cling to Dust on the EOT when they don't have enough mana to use it. Because I have vast mana advantage, this works out pretty well for me. Go ahead and get their Cling to Dust. I obviously can't cast that Duress. I considered trying to cast that Duress on end step, but MTGO does not allow you to cheat. So they Toxic Deluge. Toxic Deluge is a card that makes sense. So does Wrath of God. They're just cards that... Moto's misremembering it again. So what they had in their hand was actually a Wrath of God and a Path to Exile. I take the Path to Exile. On the following turn, I attack for 3. This is going to break, but I'm just explaining the game. I attack for 3, put them down to 4. I, at that point, use Castle Vantris on their EOT. Looking for Collective Brutality. Find Collective Brutality with just Castle Vantris, so I don't have to Tainted Pact for it. Put it on top, put the land on bottom, and then attack for lethal. We'll attack for 3, down to 1, and then cast Collective Brutality to kill my opponent. So this is his first game. It's a very involved 23-turn game, Control Mirror, where basically just the typical things won the game here. It's just mana advantage and card advantage. So Cling to Dust and land drops is really how I ended up beating my opponent. And then some of the dead cards they had, like Wrath of God's a dead card in this match. In this specific one, they were able to get some value off their Toxic Deluge and their Swords to Plowshares. Or at least they were things that could target me because I was using Creeping Tar Pit to win. But that's going to be like one of the disadvantages they have, is that we're probably a more blue deck than their Esper deck is. This is more of a blue deck than it is an Esper deck. It's more of a blue-black deck that splashes white. in it for board control, but it doesn't have a ton of it. Anyway, at the end of the day, it was just cards and mana. Cards and mana tend to be what win control mirrors, and that's, I think, what you saw play out here. They had an early game Force of Will to block our double counter spell, backed Thassa's Oracle combo, and it really turned it into a very long, grindy kind of just control mirror. But anyways, very cool game, very good game. Unfortunate the replay broke here, but I think you guys get the gist. Like we got mana and cards on our opponent in a control mirror, and it ended up getting there. So quick pause, we'll be back momentarily for game number 2. Alright, you guys are back for game 2. This hand's not great, but it's got a Demonic Tutor. The Daze is here. It's a Daze. They recall on their main phase. I think they mulliganed, but they're still going to discard. I'm 100% fine with that. Like if they're not, I think you want to use it on my upkeep. Like, there's actually, you definitely do, because it plays around Force of Negation. And I have no lands out, so I can't Spell Pierce it. So the same stuff that would get it, and you don't have to discard. Like, you get to see the cards. You have to discard then. So they cast a Mana Leak on my negate. I go ahead and Daze this, because I want to protect my Demonic Tutor, because I don't want them to know how shitty my hand is. My hand's really bad. It's not a great hand. Like, I kept it on the back of Demonic Tutor and having a bunch of mana. One of the things in these control mirrors, like, you can keep hands like this a lot of the time because flooding out in this matchup in the early game tends to be good. You want to have gas late and then mana early. In a lot of games, you just get run over by keeping a hand like this, but I think it's fine in a control mirror. I find exactly Thassa's Oracle and Demonic Consultation off of the Dig Through Time that I tutored for with Demonic Tutor. I think that Demonic Tutor target of Dig Through Time is actually kind of an interesting one. I don't know if everyone would take that. I think it is the right thing to Demonic Tutor for there, though, because I am so low on actual good in-hand resources. I do play the Narset out here, trying to bait a counter spell out. They obviously don't want to use one because they have Hero's Downfall. I do class Cling to Dust on the Ancestral Recall because I know they have Snapcaster. They go ahead and, in my opinion, kind of YOLO the Snapcaster on the Ancestral here, but it puts them off of double blue mana and on single blue, so I just go for the combo, which I did manage to find all of it with Dig Through Time. But as you can see, like, my hand has nothing in it. I'm just like straight up on these lands. I mean, I have a Mystic Sanctuary, but I guess I have a Mystic Sanctuary to get back Dig Through Time, but I'm going to be pretty low on graveyard resources at that point. But yeah, it's one of those ones where, like, I feel like this game my opponent probably has me, generally speaking, but they have to be a little more patient with the Snapcaster line. The Force Negation on the Cling to Dust is very aggressive. Maybe you got to do it. I don't know. Like, it really depends on what your hand is. If your hand is really bad and you're really banking on that Ancestral to get you into cards that do relevant things in the game, then I guess I can get it, but maybe you make that fight on my upkeep unless you're going to miss your land drop. I don't know. Going back to the very beginning, though, like, I think you definitely want an Ancestral Recall on my upkeep just to play around Force Negation, which is a card that I could be playing. I am playing. But yeah, I managed to get there in this one. Yeah. Managed to get there. I think this second game could have been a little more tight, but it happens. Sometimes we get tunnel visioned on getting a recall a bunch of times, and recalling twice by turn 6 is great. Like, it's very fun. But it's one of those matchups where, like, I think you probably need to be careful about when you go for the cards and when you leave up interaction, because 3 cards is good, but when it's blind and you're going to be mana tight on whatever you can cast off of it, it can put you in much more precarious position. So managed to get there in basically a mirror match of sorts, except our deck's running a combo and there's more of a control build. We're going to go on a quick pause. We'll be back momentarily for the last game that I'll be showcasing with Esper Oracle combo. Alright guys, we're back playing against Beta Bear here. This hand doesn't do anything. This hand I'm going to keep. It's got a tutor for a combo piece. It's got a Force of Will, and it's got some card draw. I think you're supposed to Force of Will the Soul Ring. When you see a Soul Ring, generally you want to Force of Will it if you can. It represents a lot of mana advantage, and it also represents a lot more... it makes the top decks of an opponent's deck a lot more alive if it's in play, if they're playing a bunch of 4-drops. Unfortunately, they have a Mana Vault as well, so they have a 5-point opener, which is pretty strong here, and they have a Karn on turn 2. I'm probably going to lose this one, is my guess. It's my thinking. I'm just like, alright, well, they got a threat. They've got mana advantage. They've got a threat. And, I'm drawing to basically, a DC or a Tainted Pact here. I guess Demonic Tutor would do it. What I have to do instead is actually, because I'm going to die, I just die to the attack on the next turn because they can make these both 6/6s, and they have 3 power plus 2 power off the factory. I actually opt instead to get Spellseeker, so I can find, I think it's Demonic Consultation. And then the thinking is here, like Demonic Consultation either allows me to Wrath of God, like Damnation the board, or based on my draw step, find the Oracle, or draw the Oracle, and then play DC and win. So I think this is probably a better find than just finding Oracle, because Oracle doesn't really do anything. The DC actually can do something to get me out of this board position. The problem is I'm going to 2 life, because they had an additional artifact, the Azorius Signet. So what I can do here is I can DC for Damnation, kill the board. But they still have a 2-power attacker in the form of Mishra's Factory, and I'm pretty dead. So fast mana can get you pretty quickly. We kind of just got bodied here by fast mana, is I think what it was at the end of the day that killed us. And yeah, we just didn't get to really develop, and died to basically an aggro paste Karn, backed up by 3/4 and a bunch of star artifact construct tokens. So anyways, guys, die pretty fast here to fast mana. We'll jump off this one and come back in for game number 2. Alright, guys, we're back. Hand's not good. Hand's a keeper. It's not great, but it's fine. It's got, a tide. It's got a negate. It's got a dig, and it's got a Teferi. So it's got some board control. It's got some mana. It's, yeah. Another turn 1 Soul Ring. So I'm like, alright, here we go. Soul Ring is definitely not a card you want to see when you're playing Control. Resolve on turn 1. Later on, it's fine, but it's one of those cards. It's just a high rolly card, right? Play Solemn Simulacrum. Unfortunately, it's not another flashy Planeswalker because I would love to negate a Planeswalker. I am going to go ahead and just drop this Jace here and leave up the Spell Pierce and hope that's good enough. OP plays on a Winter Orb. Not great for me. Winter Orb's pretty bad for this deck. We definitely want our mana, so I'm going to start looking for lands. Go ahead and get rid of the Spell Pierce here. That may have been a mistake. Get rid of the Pierce. Maybe I want to save it because... Oh, yeah, they go ahead and Ghost Quarter me here, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if I agree with that Ghost Quarter play. I'm just going to get a different land. It also untaps one of my lands, which is kind of nice. I mean, it basically untaps my land. I find Wishclaw here. I actually don't want Wishclaw. It's too mana intensive, and I don't have the other half of the combo. I play out Teferi, bounce the Winter Orb here. I can counter the Winter Orb on the backswing. They go ahead and resolve the Sun Titan, get back this Ghost Quarter. They evidently really don't want this Winter Orb. I figured the Winter Orb would get played this turn. They don't play the Winter Orb this turn. They just decide to Ghost Quarter me again. Just go ahead and find a swamp. I do go ahead and dig through time here. Trying to conserve my graveyard as much as possible by just tapping Outpour. If they have Mana Tithe, they get me. Find Demonic Tutor here and a Counterspell. Not a bad set of finds. I'm going to Demonic Tutor just for Swords to Plowshares here. Oh, this replay broke too. Moto's not doing very well tonight, guys. It's unfortunate. So I'm going to pause it, and we'll come back, and we'll try this one more time. Alright, guys, moment of truth. Let's see if this will play. I should be finding a Swords to Plowshares here. Nope, it doesn't want to work. Alright, quick pause. Alright, guys, we're back for game number 3. Unfortunately, that one broke. I Demonic Tutored for Swords to Plowshares to kill the Sun Titan, and then essentially took overall control of the game. My opponent just didn't have relevant plays to make from them on because they were out of cards in hand. So I managed to get them in game number 2, but it was a long, drawn-out control fight versus Big White there. This hand is one I'm going to keep on the draw. It has Serum Visions, which is a card that I tend to like very much as a turn 1 play. I think it's one of the better turn 1 cantrips because it sets up your following turns. I draw into a Demonic Tutor and have a Tithe and a Mana Drain. So I found 5 points on top of my deck, which is very good. They have a Strip Mine here. They don't opt to Strip Mine me right away, so I'd play on a fetch land here and just say go. The fear here is, because they played a Signet, is that they just have like Crucible and they Crucible lock me. And if they have that, they just probably win the game. It's going to be very difficult for me to get out of that if they sequence it correctly. I am going to go ahead and counter this Thalia here. and then cast a Tithe EOT. I kind of want to see if I get them to burn that strip mine off. They don't burn it off, though. Try to bait it. I do get to cycle off this irrigated farmland here, find the DC, which gives me game win. So I got cast Demonic Tutor off the last remaining mana drain mana, find Thassa's Oracle, cast Thassa's Oracle, cast the DC, and then just went on turn 4. But, that's because I had a Serum Visions that found me 5 points worth of cards, which is pretty good. Mana drain into Demonic Tutor, not bad. So, anyways, guys, that's the gameplay that I'm going to showcase for the deck. I don't have a ton of other games with this deck. I've been spending more of my time on deck building recently, trying to get a bunch of them together. So, if you're interested in this deck or other decks, jump on into my deck archetype file folder. There's a lot of decks in here that I believe, in my opinion, range a lot of what you can do in the format. Definitely not exhaustive because there's only about 100 or so decks that I put in here in the last week or so. But you can find Esper Oracle combo on here. And then there are certainly more radical builds of Oracle as well. Like Flash Hulk is an Oracle deck as well. That's actually the combo du jour that it uses to win. And I have a couple others. Like I have a Fish Vault deck that uses Time Time Vault plus Thassa's Oracle deck, which is quite good in here, and then I've got some more interesting and radical ones, such as Full English Breakfast combo, which is a Thassa's Oracle deck as well. I have a Food Chain Oracle deck in here, so there's a few different Oracle decks. I think Oracle is just a really it's a really good combo to use in your combo decks because it's not very card intensive and it's not very point intensive. It uses 2 pretty good tutors and then like 1 bad card, the Oracle itself, to win with, and none of them are pointed. So I like to have it in a lot of the creature-oriented and or just like combo control variant decks because of those 2 points. I think it has very few. Has very few dead cards for building with in your deck to actually play it and get value off of it. And it's very easily tutorable, and it's very efficient. So, yeah, it's quite good. I think it is very highly placed in the competitive capabilities, or as far as its competitive capabilities in the format. But, yeah, if Esper Oracle is not your thing, I would urge you to check out some of these other decks that are in here. I've got some gameplay with these, but I'm not quite ready to go prime time on any of them as far as video content goes. But please check them out, because I think most of these decks are pretty good. And if they're not, let me know why they're not, and I'll try to fix them up. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video on Esper Oracle, and look forward to linking up with you next time on my next video content. Take care and enjoy.